Hey everybody, this is Matt Demers from theScore eSports. I'm here with Kevin Purge Godek. We are going to talk just a little bit about the first day of the Summit 3. It's been a little bit of a weird one, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been really fast. All the games are 2-0s.
Yeah.
And some not really that big of upsets. I mean, we didn't really know how well Rave was going to do. We didn't really know how well EG was going to do, but EG ended up losing 2-0. Rave got beat really hard, and EG's games were a little closer, but it was still pretty stompy. And then the final set of the day was also really stompy. So we were done at like 3 p.m. or something, which is really surprising. So it was kind of nice.
Yeah, it was something that we're not really used to. I'm personally used to sitting here until the wee hours of the morning anyway, until all 5 games, all 3 games. There's none of this 2-0 shenanigans. Something that I was actually, just thought about as you were mentioning it. Rave had a lot of hype going into this tournament because of the whole omission of the TI pick. Do you think that put a little bit of pressure on them, or?
I'm sure it's pressure. I talked to him a little bit. I mean, I knew him pretty well from Korea. They're one of the teams that we played against a lot. We played them in NSL finals and we played them in KDL a lot. So they said that they are sad and embarrassed a little bit for how it went, which is understandable. Like, everybody's looking at you. They want to see how it is, especially when it's a situation where everybody's like, oh yeah, you're totally going to get it, and then you don't. You just feel like you let everybody down, even though it's not your fault. I mean, they could have won some games, I guess, right before the qualifier invites went out. They lost a couple best of 3s against some other C teams. So after I thought about it, I was like, I guess they didn't deserve the invite. Not based on today's playing, but
of course.
Their performance was not as good as maybe Malaysia's, but I wouldn't have not invited them over Malaysia either way. Just Rave wasn't one of the best 10 teams or whatever. So
that was something that we noticed anyways, that they hadn't played any games on the patch, and I guess if that was an indicator of how well they were going to do at this tournament, that's actually gets thrown out the window because C9 also hadn't played any games on this patch. As someone who's played competitive before anyway, it's how important is it to get, I guess before big major events anyway, to just get as many games grinded out on a new patch as possible? I
mean, it's really important, but the hard part is that official games mean a lot more in a lot of ways, because you can. I mean, there's one time in Zephyr where they practiced this strat. I think it was in season 3. They practiced this jungle doom strat for a week straight, and we had a stupid win rate, 14-2 or something. And then we played against Rave, and we got absolutely stomped, and everybody was like, "That was the dumbest strat I've ever seen."
I actually remember that.
It's so bad. Why would they pick Lone Druid? Why would they? And our coordination was just a little off, and we lost all of our lanes, and the game was just over. But we had a 14-2 win rate. It was the most practiced strat we ever had in Korea, and we just got crapped on and So, if you don't get to test them in official matches, sometimes things go bad. And I'm sure that's maybe what happened to EG as well, because they went from having no games played on the patch, they show up, they have some draft that looks like they put support Kunkka, they picked that with purpose, and then they just got wrecked.
I was going to ask, actually, do you think, besides maybe that support Kunkka play, do you think that there were any, strats from the very one-sided games that we saw today that just were, it was similar, where it worked really good in scrims, and it worked really good on paper, but as soon as we actually saw it,
I think the only one that looked like a strat was that game with the Undying and the Kunkka. They just lost all their lanes. That was basically why most of the stomps today happened, was because the lanes were too weak.
Yeah.
At least the Rave games were like that. The lanes were too weak, so they lost all their lanes, and then they couldn't control the game at that point. So it was a lot of that. The same was for that first EG game. They had an Undying and a Kunkka support, and they couldn't do any roaming, and the Dragon Knight got out of control, and they just did whatever he wanted to. So that was the first game. I feel like EG really lost due to their picks, but Game 2 was more of an equal game, but it was just outplayed by C9. That's kind of what I got out of it.
That was something, I was talking with Bone 7 afterwards, and he basically said that in order, successful picks in this patch they have to be able to win lane, and they have to be able to team fight well. Which, why do you think that is? I guess, what circumstances do you think have, contributed to that?
I almost feel like teams are they don't care about the lanes as much right now as they did, and they care about it less right now than they should care about it now more than the last patch, because comeback mechanics obviously wasn't everything, but winning your lanes is very important if you can't just necessarily win from team fights. And I feel like, especially with the way the last patch went very gank heavy, so everybody's skills at ganking went up massively. So once you get an advantage, and people are a lot safer. They played the entire patch before on safety, making sure you never give your advantage away. So if you lose your lanes now, everybody's really good at not throwing, in comparison to maybe even 6 months ago or a year ago, where people would play whatever, because we're so ahead that we're still going to win most likely. So I feel like it's maybe partially that, but lanes seem to be a really big deal. That's why probably we saw C9 picking Coddle twice. It's one of the best trialing heroes. you can nuke 3 heroes for 200 magic damage with 1 skill point. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's why Gyro's really popular right now, because Rocket Barrage is such a good skill for 1 skill point. Does a lot of damage. He's a very good tri-lane carry, so a lot of aggressive lanes seem to be working really well this tournament. And it's basically, I mean, obviously Vici is the better team, I believe, than all the other people they played today, but they also they picked really good lanes, and they always punished their opponent's weakness. So I think lane swapping is something we see a lot, and that happened in C9 EG game too. There's just crazy lane swapping because you need to have your lane advantage, and you need to push that into an advantage, which lets you win the game.
Yeah, something that I was kind of just picking up from what you were saying there is that another one of the heroes that we were seeing is a lot is Queen of Pain.
Mm-hmm.
So we're seeing a lot of Queen of Pain picks. Like I'm noting down drafts and picks and bans and that kind of stuff. It's almost pick ban every game. There's I think out of the 6 matches that we saw, or 6 games rather that we saw today, I think it was only not in 2 of them, or not pick ban in 2 of them. So I guess asking all those points that you made, I guess, about not throwing and being able to win lane and survive ganks and that kind of stuff. Is that something that she does especially well?
Yeah, she's pretty survivable. She can blink away. You need triple chainstone or dual chainstone with something to beat her. She's pretty good in the mid lane at bullying most people, but even seeing some Dragonite today, it's been okay. But obviously, she was harassed that game by a tornado, so it kind of offset things.
Yeah.
But generally, her 1v1 is really good. EG picked her once, but they put her in the safe lane because the matchup versus a Dragonite wasn't amazing, I guess, because Fada's really good at last hitting even on melee heroes. So obviously her mid-game team fight is really good, but that's basically what Bone7 said. Good lane control, really good team fighting, can also gank.
Yeah.
Those are all things you need to take a comeback or go even with your opponents or take an advantage. So, and she scales pretty well into the late game as well. Good team fight, utility items, stuff like that. So yeah, she's just a really safe pick for a mid hero, I think, is the main reason we're seeing. Doesn't have a stun, but everything else she has is really good.
Something that you were mentioning before was that I just kind of thought about was that you were saying that you have to kind of like control your own destiny a little bit more on this patch. You have to be able to like take the initiative to win, keep your snowball going and win lanes, that kind of stuff. Was that just a symptom of having like both the old comeback mechanics and having heroes like Sniper and Troll, where you could kind of just farm and then eventually win? Or just take the game late, rather, I guess.
It's kind of hard to say.
Yeah.
The trend differences it's still pretty early. I feel like it's hard to analyze. Maybe in a couple more weeks we'll have it really figured out. But right now, those single target carries that were really popular before aren't really good anymore. So now we're seeing things that are just winning lanes, and I think that'll be strong until we maybe start finding the heroes that are truly OP right now.
Yeah.
And maybe there's some Gyro, or maybe there's some like Sniper or Troll Warlord out there that we haven't really figured out yet. It's entirely possible. There could be something like that that's been buffed. Even Jug is maybe still pretty good. He didn't really get nerfed that badly, I don't think. Yeah, it was mostly just like Omni/mini stun, I think. Yeah. So there's probably still a couple of heroes that could be abused, I think.
I think the healing ward speed got
yeah, that's
a little
true.
Bit too.
Yeah, he got a couple of things, but he's still viable.
Yeah.
His damage is still really high. Mask of Manus got nerfed from movement speed, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
So there's some carries that can still do work, and
I guess as someone who's played competitive before, and like when a new patch comes out, like what was, I guess or even just putting yourself in the shoes of other people, it's like, do you just want to like tear it apart as much as possible and be like, okay, let's just try each and every one of these heroes? I guess like the same kind of thing happened with Undying, where like everyone else got nerfed except for him. But like, I guess what's the mentality like, or what's the process like of being like, okay, I've got all these new toys to play with?
Probably depends on the team, really. I don't think there were too many patches when I was playing, at least. It was fun to look at as a team when we talk about what we thought was OP. Yeah. But at some point, your picks basically depend on if you win with the hero or not. Yeah. So it can be very trendy. What if you pick some hero that's actually OP, but your weak player plays him? Or what if you play him in a game where you just happen to be outdrafting, you don't understand the intricacies, and you say, oh, that hero's bad, There could be lots of stuff like that. So I think on top level teams, maybe they're more wise and able to figure out what picks are truly good. But it's hard to say. It just depends on the team, really, and it's going to take time where some hero comes on the top, has a high win rate in the pro scene, maybe trends into it. I mean, people have those good ideas all the time. Like, I thought about Ogre and Skyrath being strong going into TI, but my team didn't believe in it.
You were saying, I think
I write all the time, but they didn't believe that that the heroes were good, and I played them like maybe one game each tops. I played Ogre one game and it felt pretty good, but we lost and they just wrote it off. And it's because I wasn't good enough to like really make the hero look strong, and it wasn't until top teams start playing it and everybody's like, okay, yeah, this hero's actually really good. So it's hard to predict those strengths. I think on the average team, at some point it will eventually trend into good things. But I'm sure lots of people know or have the idea where, I think this hero's pretty good, or maybe this item build's pretty good on this hero, and then it eventually, some months or years later, it'll become popular. But until then, it has to be in the pro scene basically, or it has to trend real hard in pubs before it starts getting played there.
Kind of just transitioning, I guess, back into like tomorrow and the rest of the tournament. Do you think that there's going to be any hero that we kind of see there where like some game is going to happen and everyone's going to be, oh crap, this is actually really good?
I think Coddle is looking really good right now. C9 picked Coddle up almost every match. It's really good against the tri-lane. It's really good defensive or aggressive.
The burst that they were putting out with the Dragon Knight, they're just like pop Dragon form, Dragon Tail someone, and then, all of a sudden half his health would be gone from both the Flame Breath and the Coddle Blast.
Yeah, it's a nice setup. And Coddle does a lot of other good utility as well. The Chen plus recall thing was pretty cool, and I think Coddle... Strong tri-lane heroes is probably what we'll see a lot of. Probably more Witch Doctor, Keeper of the Light, stuff like that I think is going to be most likely what we see. Maybe some better tri-lane carries. I think Rave is going to hopefully learn that PA or PL doesn't work very well, tri-lane versus tri-lane, or at least they have to pick really strong tri-lane heroes. So maybe we won't see PL as much. More heroes like Gyro. I think Gyro will be pretty contested throughout this tournament.
Do you think that the introduction of that cooldown reduction mechanic with Coddle, and then I believe there's the item as well, do you think that's going to be like kind of shape the way, it's like a new way of thinking of these OP heroes, right? Where you've got these extra mechanics now.
It's small, because it has a small timer. When you use it on your ally, he has to cast that spell within like 8 seconds or something. So you can't always time it on what you want to use it for. So I don't think that's necessarily OP. It's a nice buff, but it's not something that people are going to abuse, I don't think, for a while. So I think that's the irrelevant point. It's more just that he's really good at a tri-lane, and that's about it.
I guess looking again to tomorrow, to the matches that we have LGD versus Not Today, and we also have a rematch with Red Bull Battleground Grand Finals of IG versus Secret. I guess kind of looking at LGD versus Not Today first. Obviously, I'd imagine that there will, 99% of people are going to be choosing LGD in order to win this, just mainly because of the region difference, and just the perceived levels of skill between the team. Like, obviously, asking, do you think there's any truth to that? Obviously, but is there any chance that Not Today could ever, could win the series, or even like take a game or something like that?
Maybe take a game. I don't really see them winning the series. LGD is one of the best teams in China right now. I didn't see them play very much, but I checked out the record when I was doing qualifier predictions, and they were looking really good. They have a really stacked team. So I feel like Not Today's pretty high chance of losing there. Maybe worth betting your rares on to see if you can swing 4-1 or something. But in terms of the other game, IG versus Secret, I mean, they went 3-2. It was very close. It could go either way, I feel. I know Secret tries really hard at drafting. I mean, most of them were watching all the games yesterday or today and checking replays and stuff like that. So it seems like they're going to be pretty serious about that one. So I'm not really sure how that one's going to go, but whoever plays LGD, I feel like I really don't know how that one's going to go. I can't tell you. But I think it will be pretty good games. Or hopefully not just stomps all day. Fingers crossed.
It's like, a good first day is quick, but when the entire tournament is quick, that's when things
then you're like, why did I come here? This is
why did I buy a ticket again? Why did I buy a ticket?
Exactly.
Actually, I guess kind of wrapping this up, something that I was noticing when I was considering, who to interview for this tournament. This is like the Oscars of Dota 2 right now. Like, considering all the teams that are here and all this, like the star power. I mean, like, between LGD, IG, and what's that third one? VG. Thank you. I completely forgot. Like the names that are here. The RTK, the Burnings, the Lonums, that kind of stuff. It's just like, this is actually like a really good benchmarking tool before the whole TI rush starts.
Yeah, it'll be pretty fun to see, and that'll impact people's predictions a lot, I'm sure. But I mean, there's a ton of tournaments before.
Totally.
This is not the only one.
Yeah.
But this one's definitely pretty fun, and it's nice that it's all pretty cozy. You don't have to walk too far to get from places, and it's tons of food. That's the best part.
This man has been eating so many cookies.
I ate like 9 cookies.
So many cookies.
I'm not going to stop. More tomorrow. They better buy more.
So, on that note, I think that's a good place to leave off for today. Thank you so much for talking to us. It's been great.
No problem.
If you guys are interested in more coverage, more interviews, more stats, you can go to theScore eSports.com, download our app. We have live stat pages for every single match We have pages for every single player and team. You guys can check out all those extra details and all that other fun stuff. We're going to be here all weekend, or a week rather. It's closer to a week, I guess, doing video interviews and features like this one. So check out our YouTube channel, our Twitter, twitter.com/theScore eSports. You can follow me on Twitter at Matt Demers. You can follow this guy at Purge Gamers. Do you have anything you want to say before we sign off?
No, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks for watching.